What's up YouTube, Annie here. Now I want to follow up today on that video I did about how much I pay for rent here in San Diego. A lot of people had a lot of opinions. And one of the questions I got most often was, what did I do with the money? Now, of course, I had to pay taxes on the home sale. I put a good chunk of it in savings. I had some fun with some of it. And of course, I put a good healthy amount in the stock market. I mean, it's down, it's on sale, it's time to buy. But I also gave about $200,000 to this guy. That is my friend Seth O'Byrne. And if you're an HGTV fan, you might actually recognize this guy. Now, Seth and I have been friends for over 15 years now. We met in college. He's been my real estate broker for a long time, and he was the one who helped me sell my house. And the timing on that sale could not have been more perfect because at the time, Seth was starting a new real estate investment fund called Reditus. So today I'm gonna meet up with Seth and we're gonna talk about 3 of the properties that Reditus is developing here in San Diego. Before I let Seth do his thing, a brief explainer with my terrible animations on Reditus and California ADU laws. California has a housing crisis. We have too many people for too few housing units. To solve this problem, California state and local governments are encouraging homeowners and developers to build accessory dwelling units, or ADUs. Commonly known as granny flats, they're a way to utilize unused land space, like backyards, for additional housing. Reditus is a real estate investment fund that focuses on ADU development throughout San Diego County. And now I'll let Seth take it from here.
So San Diego has the same problem New York had in the 80s, right? We created this great city that had all this great employment, and it created these huge salaries, but also took investors that invested in those companies that created huge salaries, CEOs, CFOs, and created this kind of huge disparity in wealth between the super rich and the working class. And what happened in New York in the 80s and 90s is, you know, Long Island was all single family homes, right? Like a lot of New York, even parts of Manhattan were single family homes. And so what happened in the 80s was the government realized that the big reason why no one could afford real estate is the people in the C-suite of all these new companies that came to town were buying all these homes and turning them into mansions, whereas the people who worked at the restaurants and the dishwashers and the people who drove cabs, they couldn't afford anything. And so the only way, this is a huge argument going on with inflation, it's not about the value of assets, it's about the amount of cash in the market. We have too much cash in the market, that's what's driving inflation. Same thing is true of housing. The reason it's expensive is there's not much of it. And so they know the only way to bring down rents over time is to produce more units. And so San Diego has second or third worst housing crisis in America, which that then about 10 years ago started this early conversations about we need to do something, we need to make it easier for developers, and we need to make it more profitable for developers to build units. The government tried to get into the housing business. That's why we have the projects in Chicago. That was a failed experiment, and they said we're never getting back into housing. So around the 80s, they started creating tax incentives for developers to develop, and even paying developers to develop, which through this thing called tax credits. And so basically, we are not working against the government, we're working with the government. So many billionaires came out of the New York real estate market in the 80s and 90s because back then the rents were higher than the whole country and there was nothing for rent. So politicians and developers said, we need to fix this problem, which meant politicians got reelected, but developers got filthy rich. Which usually there's a loser. The cool thing about that moment in the 80s in New York is there wasn't a loser because the winner was the tenant too. The person on the lower part of the economic bracket got more housing stock. Mm-hmm. The developers made enormous returns, mm-hmm. and politicians were actually doing something that made it better for the people that voted for them. Where we have it in San Diego is we almost have the exact same identical perfect storm. Interestingly enough, we have the same exact situation with high interest rates too. Mm-hmm. Like our rates are still 4% cheaper than they were in the early 80s, mm-hmm. but it's almost the identical situation as Manhattan. Like if you look at what made Manhattan, it was this. And right now, which I believe is the worst inequity in America, of any major city in America, we have 24 tenants to every 1 housing unit. So every unit that comes up, there's 24 applicants.
So let's go look at the first property. This is a duplex where they're building 2 additional units on the back. Doesn't that look great? Like, you'd never know that there are, like, I think there's 4 units on this property. You'd never know it. I think one of the things that works really well is that they picked a neighborhood where there are already existing multi-unit properties. So it doesn't freak the neighbors out anymore because they already live next to units like this. And this is going to be like the nicest multifamily unit on the entire street.
It's very, very rare that we have anything that we keep.
Okay.
So almost everything's brand new.
Yeah.
And this is more indicative of what we're building.
Yeah.
This we just kept because
It's here.
Exactly. We wouldn't have gotten that much more money if we built brand new.
Yeah.
And the cost to build a second story on top of it with 2 units was not necessarily so high as much as it would have taken us another year to build.
Yeah. Okay.
This whole project took us 12 months.
That's wild.
So we bought something for $700,000 and we'll probably sell it for somewhere between 2.3 and 2.9 million in like 11 months.
I kind of want to live here.
No! Come see it.
I'm just going to be like, let's just take my investment, put it as a down payment,
Yes.
and I'll just keep it.
So this is like for like mom or grandma that doesn't want to go up and down stairs.
Yeah. Look how cute this is. I mean, this is, it's a little hard to see, it's dark because the lights are out, but I mean, the finishings, oh, it switched. The finishings are beautiful.
So the big difference I've found in residential real estate between really nice homes and normal homes is the height of the doorway. And so it's 8-foot doorways, 10-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
So you can kind of just tell, you know, by me standing here, like
You're
it just, there's something to that, right? I'm 6 foot and like 1 millimeter,
Yeah.
which I'll hang on to.
On the second level, you'll find living and kitchens.
Kitchen. Look at that. This is huge.
Yeah. 100%. How's it going? So we're estimating about $5,500 for these.
For these, okay.
So there's a bathroom on this level.
Yep.
Just, it's mostly living. Huge kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Living area. The view's pretty remarkable.
Look at that. I mean, you got ocean view from here.
Yeah.
The construction noise on this is pretty brutal, but you're basically seeing the driveway, so the front units will get a tandem spot and the back units will get garages.
There's a lot of things that they were able to do. They created these cantilevered support beams so that this beam can be super small. So instead of having this beam thicker, you can make it really small so you capture more view.
Yeah.
It feels more open.
I was gonna say, so why bother with those details?
So, because we build to sell, and investors are humans, just like home buyers, something that looks prettier, they'll pay more for. So like the hemlock on the ceiling does not at all move the price.
Yep.
But the hemlock, the actual cost of goods was like $2,500 for the whole building. And the install was like $2,500. So when you're building something that's costing, you know, probably it's about a little over $1 million in construction, spending $5,000 to do one detail that makes investor more excited about building it. Because like, just to kind of look, you know, so this is 4 units. That if you're an investor and you want to buy an apartment building, you could buy that. But a lot of investors are very affluent. They live in nice homes.
Yep.
And they don't want to buy that. They'd rather buy something like this. You know, there's a term in real estate, they call it sweetheart properties.
Okay.
Someone wants something that they can they go to a cocktail party and they'd be like, I just bought this apartment building in San Diego, overlooking the ocean, check it out. Our buyers are doctors, dentists, lawyers, you know, C-suite and companies. They buy these things not just for income. It's sport.
It's a little bit of a trophy.
Yeah, in certain income brackets, it's sport to buy real estate. It's not just about money.
Yeah.
So we want people to feel like they're good. But again, we don't go nuts, right? Like, we were going to do glass. We saved, I think, $35,000 per unit going with metal.
Are we gonna buy this?
100%.
Yeah.
We've made offers on every house on the street.
Have you?
Yeah, unsolicited.
Up the next set of stairs, 2 more bedrooms and another bathroom. This layout is perfect for a family who has aging parents living with them, or even for a group of college kids who want to go in on it together.
This is the queen maker right here.
So yeah, so it's what, 3 bed, 2 bath?
Yeah.
In the end on each side.
3 bed, 2 bath. Well, technically 3-bed, 2.5-bath, because the main floor has that half bath just for entertaining.
Got it.
So yeah, so you've got like a green belt kind of look over here.
That's cute.
That's all canyon
Yeah.
for fire break. And then you can see La Jolla, Pacific Beach, Mission Beach, Crown Point, Ocean Beach, and the pier. You can see the pier,
Yeah.
Point Loma,
Coronado.
and then some of the buildings downtown San Diego. We would be stoked to sell this in the mid-2s,
Yep.
but we're thinking that even with interest rates going up, because the rents are going to be so much higher than we predicted, we still think we're probably going to, all of us investors will probably make $300,000 to $400,000 more than we even thought. Yeah, single family homes, I think, because rates are really like messing with people's ability to afford.
Yeah.
But on properties like this, the rents are so much higher than they were when we started building that even though the rates went up, your cash flow is almost the same. So yeah, your debt service, right? Your mortgage payments on this building, whoever buys it's gonna be a little higher, but the rents are so much higher that it absorbed it.
And sure enough, as we were leaving, there was an investor coming in to take a look at the property. But let's get out of this construction noise and take a quick look at another property, which you're going to notice looks really similar to the one before it. That's because when Roditis can reuse plans, the city tends to expedite because they've already approved that layout. In this area of Normal Heights, there are mostly apartment buildings here already. So when this project is done, it's going to look like the nicest apartment building on the street. Let's go take a look at the last property, which is in the Claremont Mesa area of San Diego, because this one is going to be so different from anything that Roditis has done before.
The cool thing about these lots is you got to remember, once we've gotten these plans approved and completed for these projects, the city of San Diego fast tracks the next one we do. So what we try to do is do one here, and then we try really hard to do these guys.
Okay.
What we keep doing is we keep doing the property next to the property we're doing, because this guy and that guy go, you're going to pay what for my house? If we can get this figured out, we can shave off several months on construction if we can use the same plans that the city already approved here and go, hey, remember this one? We're going to do that one too.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do that one too.
Do you care about like home condition?
Not at all.
No.
The uglier the better, because we get a better deal.
Yeah.
But so this is an interesting one because of all of our projects, this is the only one we're taking advantage of this new rule. So as of about 9 months ago, you can turn any garage into a unit. And we've never taken advantage of that. So this will, once construction is completed, this will be a stucco with the door. The door is probably going to be over here,
Okay.
but this is going to be a
That's
studio.
nice. Yeah.
There's already plumbing there, so it's really easy.
Oh, that's
and
great.
This is a three bedroom. So that'll be a studio, and then this is a 3 bedroom.
Ah, okay. So you'll take out the garage. Oh, it's already gone.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This was already kind of being used as flex space.
Yeah.
So that's what gave us the idea.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then, so the reason that this is fixed up, and we're going to be building these homes over the next 20 months, is we're actually going to rent this, and the rent is going to cover most of our mortgage.
Wow.
Back here is going to be 9 units.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So it's going to be two duplexes, or I guess you call it fourplexes. So downstairs, upstairs, upstairs.
Okay.
And then over here it's going to be the
Four.
same thing. Downstairs, upstairs, upstairs.
Yeah.
With a center walking.
Yeah.
And then back there's going to be a big 1,200 square foot house.
Nice.
And then 2 units up front. So it's an 11 unit, which is worth about $5.5 million. You know, we bought the house for $600,000.
That's incredible.
So to take anything you can buy for $600,000 and sell it again for $5.5 million, it's crazy.
Yeah. And construction costs around like what, $2 million?
Yeah, about $2 million, a little more. Yeah, like 2.5, 2.4. But the beautiful thing about this is it's already a flat lot,
Yeah.
right? So some of our lots we have 100,000, 150,000 in dirt work. It's very flat.
Yeah, this is incredible. What a find.
This lot is across the street from the first unit Roditis showed me as an example of what they want to build in San Diego. And if you look at this, you can't even tell that's an ADU. It looks like the nicest house on the block. This property even made it into the New York Times as an example of the changing landscape of real estate in California. And seeing how well it's done has made me really excited for the future of the Roditis Fund.
The cool thing for us is we've underestimated rents, We've overestimated construction costs, and we've overestimated the turnaround time. The main reason we do that is this is Roditis Fund 1, right?
Yeah.
So Fund 1 is to get all investors to come with us to Fund 2. Once we made everyone money, then we'll probably stick with the same investors for years. We want to achieve that status where we no longer have to go to the general public and ask for money.
Yeah.
We have our same 30 investors, and they know that a portion of their monthly income is always going to come from Roditis, and we'll go into the future together.
Yeah.
And that's what we want, because raising money takes a lot of time, and we just want to focus on building.
Yeah.
You know, there's a new rule now that Gavin Newsom just signed into California state law where you can convert every office building into an apartment building. And now that no one's going to the office and we need so much housing, we're all very seriously looking at that for Fund 2.
Yeah.
Like buying office buildings in Mission Valley and just turning them into condo buildings.
Yeah.
So he's telling me I'm not getting my money back.
Never. We are required to return it after Fund 1 is closed, just so you know. But it is up to her and the wine we give her whether or not she wants to do it. We're actually a very good example. If you look at the last 18 months of our purchases, we went from a triplex across the street, a fourplex in Bay Park, a triplex, which we'll go see, to now we're building mostly 20 units, 30 units, and more. And we have a 300 unit apartment building that we're under negotiations on. There will likely be a day in the future, and we talk about it a lot, we'll start building vertical, like 20 stories, 30 stories. I don't know if that comes in the next 1 to 2 years, but certainly we're seeing the same writing on the wall that New York saw.
Yeah.
That's why, you had these areas where you never saw a high rise ever.
Yep.
And the developer said there's so much housing demand, we could build units up to the sky and never fill them all because and never see a vacancy because there's so much demand. And in California and in San Diego, we have this thing called build by right.
Yeah.
So we don't have to get the neighbors' approval of anything we do anymore.
Yeah.
So that's a new thing. And Gavin Newsom wrote in some very strong wording on that. It essentially says even if a neighbor complains, if we're building within the code, the neighbor can't even slow us down one day.
Yeah.
So there's no stopping us, which is great because that's always the big question. Okay, you build an apartment building in the backyard of a neighborhood. What if this person goes, hey, I didn't sign up for having an apartment building next door. The government's now said, tough luck, we need the housing.
Yeah, we need the housing. Yeah.
And this is great because you're going to have another question in your head when you look at these sides. You go, how can you get a car back here?
Yes.
To park?
Yeah.
You don't.
You don't have to.
Because we're right next to transit.
It's a transit station, yeah.
So there's no parking. And what kind of helps us a little bit too, as far as not making the neighbors mad, there's a corner right here with Baxter, so they have access to 3 streets to park.
Yeah.
It's not like a one-way street where you're driving down a mile. There's so many different options for parking.
Before I let Seth go for the day, I wanted to address the elephant in the room and one of the main arguments against ADUs. Are we just cannibalizing single-family homes and destroying neighborhood character in order to build development projects like this for money?
No part of me likes profiting on the pain that American consumers feel. I think it's horrible that we're in this situation for American consumers, but running a business that happens to profit from it makes us feel good, at least knowing that we're doing the right thing at the right time for investors' money.
Yeah.
But it's also like you're gonna get like the big, like the BlackRocks and like the huge funds coming in. Like I'd much rather have local people who have been in this market for 20 years?
21 years, yeah.
Like doing this and taking care of their communities than, outside investors who like don't give a shit, right? Like much rather have you guys like doing this and developing it and like caring about the San Diego community than to have a big outside firm come in and just raise the building.
Well, the other thing too about the BlackRocks, the Blackstones, the Bridge is another big fund too, is they're national funds that operate when they see opportunity. We live within a couple miles of every project we do. Like we are going to go to the same grocery store as the people that we rent to. Like these neighbors we've met, like, we know everyone. So first of all, even though we can build by right, which is great because it doesn't slow us down, which is very important for our investors, because the longer it takes, it dilutes the value of the investment. We know everyone here, and we want to build products that make the neighbors happy. Like when we were completing Baxter, right? And the fund wasn't a part of Baxter, but our main operator we fund built Baxter, and obviously got in the New York Times for it because it was such a unique project, and it was kind of this sign of the times that we can now do these things. You know, they didn't like the fence they put up, so he tore it down and built a fence that the neighbors liked more. Like BlackRock's not doing that. Like they don't care. And the main delineation from the huge funds is they mostly invest in projects that are 200 units or more. So they do big complexes with, you know, they may even have like a corner store in the complex and a little bodega and a pool and a gym and all that stuff. We're building in mostly blue collar neighborhoods to upper middle class neighborhoods. We're building on lots. I point to this backyard. I mean, this is important. Like, so real estate is all about bringing value where there wasn't value. What valuable thing is going on in this backyard right now? Like we have 2 trees that are clearly dying, right? You can tell just by looking at them. Like we just came out of the summer and these things are dying. We have brush, which is only going to cause a fire, right? we have what used to be, I think, a pool that is now filled in with dirt. And we have whatever that rusty thing is in the backyard, and fences that are literally 3 different types of fences that are falling over. When we're done with this, 11 San Diegans are going to have a home, and all these neighbors are going to live next to a brand new building. So when we have to redo the main line for the plumbing, everyone on the street benefits. When we bring more tax revenue to the street, the power lines come down. So one of the things that's hard to explain to an individual neighbor is how much development helps everyone. This is a little more nuanced. This is a middle class to upper middle class neighborhood, which is mostly where we work in. The biggest projects we can build on most of these lots are 70 units. Most of what we build is 20. And a lot of what we end up doing is just creating a street that looks better. I think the Blackstone and the BlackRocks of the world are investing where they see financial opportunity. And also, those funds are paying to the investors 5%, 6%, 8%. You know, we're projecting to pay 25 to 35%. We're doing that because we're a very small fund. We physically know every one of our investors. We know our neighbors. We know the people we bought it from. We know all the brokers in the neighborhood. Like if we miss on a project, I have to look everyone face to face and talk to them about it. It really changes how you act when you know you have to answer to your if you made a screw up. And I think the Blackstones and the BlackRocks of the world, all the investors are completely faceless. But it's a little different when you're like you, Annie, right? Like you have a small part of a project that has a small part in changing the city for the better. It is about money, but it's very cool that it's a little more than that. To me, that's rad. I'm like super proud of what we're doing. And Claremont, everyone has always said this, and I'll say this here because I'm saying too much. I'll end here. Claremont is an area of town that was built after World War II in the 50s. All the properties were built really quickly because all the troops were coming back from Europe and they wanted to house them. All the construction is very shoddy. It's all single story. The foundations have problems. There's tons of termites everywhere in this whole zip code. And everyone knew it was ready for a refresh. We can't make an impact on the global stage or the national stage, but like we can take a zip code, and I'm willing to bet that in 3 or 4 years when you start driving down the street, you're going to notice the projects that we've done. Like we were actually going to make the city looks better.
So in the end, I'm excited to have the money that I made from selling my San Diego home going right back into improving our local economy. And if I make a great return on that money, well, that's just gravy.